right. Well,
Hello, my friend.
welcome, Bev. Tell us who you are and where you're broadcasting from.
Yeah, hi. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bev Rella. I operate Bar Wellness, BAR Wellness, I'm sitting right now in my new home office. That's why it's all blank back here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I also live in Arizona part of the year. So I'm glad to be a snowbird at this point in my life. I am a nutrition therapist, and I specialize in the age and stage of people who want the next stage to be their best stage. So I work with lots of folks who deal with digestive issues, hormonal issues, and metabolic health, which we'll talk about today. And you are my friend Kristin. Tell us about who you work with primarily, and you can also jump off and tell everyone how we got to this point of doing a quote unquote Facebook Live.
Yeah, the un-Facebook Live. Still have faces, so it's okay. Yeah. Kristin Whitaker here from Salt Lake City, Utah, just outside. I own and operate Nourish with Kristin. And like Bev is, I'm a nutrition therapist. We actually met way back in the beginning of our school days, and we have come a long way through many programs and certifications and journeys, and it's been an incredible ride. So I'm glad to have Bev along for it. We actually hatched this little plot because I was fortunate enough to stay to be a guest at Chateau Bev in Scottsdale. I was there for a work conference, and so I got to stay with her, and we were, typing away on our computers and hashing all the details of our client loads and getting excited about all the things. And we landed upon metabolism as what we wanted to focus on for the month of June. That sound about right?
It does. The reason we focused on metabolism, one big issue that our clients share, I think, is this idea of why can't I lose weight? It's one of the questions I hear most frequently. So we wanted to share in the month of June this whole idea about metabolism. Is my metabolism broke? Why do I have slow metabolism? What is metabolism? And so we wrote a series of 4 emails together, and the culmination of which is this live presentation on metabolism. And we wanted to take an opportunity to answer some of the questions that clients and other folks in our circles came up with around this whole idea of metabolic health. And so today is that day, and we are going to answer all the questions. And at the end of this presentation, we will talk to you about next steps. We've got a fantastic offer, and we will tell you how to understand how to have your own metabolic health at the end of the presentation.
Right. If June was learning education month, then July is action month. And so
exactly,
yeah, it's gonna be really exciting. Well, let's jump right in then with the most obvious question that when I asked a group of friends, like, well, what is metabolism? So Bev, help us out. What is metabolism?
What is metabolism and what is metabolic health, right?
Right.
Metabolism is really energy expenditure. You said that to me a couple of days ago, and I'm like, well, that's the easiest way to say it. It is helping your body use the nutrients that you take in to produce energy. That is the simplest way to talk about metabolism. Well, it gets really complicated from there, and we're going to talk about the aspects of metabolic health throughout this presentation. But in essence, it's energy expenditure.
Right.
And so if your body is not appropriately expending energy, that results in poor health, brain fog, and increased weight, among other things.
Right. But if you're not expending the energy, you're storing the energy, right?
Exactly. maybe around your middle. Um,
For sure.
so another huge question we got was about blood sugar management. And when we wrote the first email, we talked a little bit about what a healthy metabolic health entails. And one of the big areas that it entails is blood sugar management. Really, really important. So why do I crash in the middle of the day, Kristin? And is that related to metabolism?
Absolutely. And you framed it right away when you started talking about blood sugar. The most likely reason that you're crashing in the middle of the day, usually smack in between lunch and dinner, usually about the time it's right before my kids come home from school, or the afternoon lull at your workspace when all of a sudden you can't keep your head up. That's usually because of a blood sugar crash, which can result from irregular eating habits, from a high carb diet, from sugary foods, from a rebound from caffeine and other stimulants. It can result from the interplay of hormones that are also affected by blood sugar regulation. So there's a lot of reasons why you're crashing in the middle of the day, but they're absolutely every one of them tied to your metabolism.
Exactly.
Right. So to go a little bit further, the next question went right along with this because, like I said, this crash has to do with your blood sugar. We had the question come in, my blood sugar really isn't that bad, so why should I even be concerned about it? I'm gonna let Bev hit this one.
So you should be concerned about your blood sugar, number one, because it's one of the pillars of metabolic health, but don't take my word for it. Blood sugar is sneaky. It is, you oftentimes don't know if you've got high blood sugar. There's no like brain fog or upset stomach that indicates that you have high blood sugar. There's something that we talked about in our series of emails called blood sugar roller coaster. And I won't go into it, but it's just this idea of when you're not eating a ideal metabolic health related diet, you're constantly moving up and down like a roller coaster throughout the day. So you'll get energy from your food, and then a couple hours later, you'll do what Kristin described, which is feel tired, crash, get hangry. And that is the constant interplay of a lot of things Kristin just explained, but that's the blood sugar roller coaster. And I think for many of my clients, and I'm sure many of yours, Kristin, they don't really realize that they're in this blood sugar roller coaster aspect until we gently point it out. I have many clients who get home from work at 5 o'clock. Why am I so hangry? Why do I feel like I'm going to yell at my kids or my husband? Well, that's because you're in a blood sugar roller coaster scenario. And there are many ways to get out of that, and we'll talk about them as we go. But one question that came up related to metabolism: why could I eat anything I wanted in my teens and my 20s, but now I feel I can't look at a treat without gaining 5 pounds, Kristin?
I feel this one, don't you?
Exactly. Oh yeah.
I
just had a big birthday and I'm feeling it more than ever.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I could do a whole pizza and a 2-liter of Dr. Pepper and not blink in my 20s. So I feel this. The fact is, we're not 20 anymore. And it's tempting to feel ripped off, but let me back up. So when we're 20, odds are we're a little more active than we tend to be in our progressing years. We also have a different hormone profile. We're not like hormonally, we're not the same people we are now that we were then. There's a lot of factors at play that make us a little more resilient. When I look back at that time that I was eating whatever I want, in retrospect, I recognize a lot of dis-ease, like unhealthy symptoms I had that I didn't know was me being sick. But if we're just talking, you know, can I fit in my jeans? I could eat whatever I want. I can't now. So that has to do with lots of different factors that interplay on each other. The fact is, we can fix that. Okay, there are things we can do now if we acknowledge the endocrine parameters we have, the hormones that we have at play in the stage of life that we're in. We can work within that to optimize them so that we function ideally. If we know that we're a little more sensitive, as we tend to be as we age, to blood sugar issues, we can regulate that with the food choices we make. If we know that our activity level affects our basal, our resting metabolic rate, we can try to be a little more active. We can do a little resistance training. There's things that we can do if we just recognize what's changed between where we are now and when we were 20. We can mitigate and overcome every one of those and have the metabolic function that we want. We really can. It just takes a little more mindfulness and effort to take care of that.
And data, don't you think? It takes a little bit of data. I think you have to understand where you are from a blood sugar perspective, because we talked about that, from a lifestyle perspective, from many different perspectives. And there's so many tools out there right now, the Apple Watch, a Fitbit. We have more information at our fingertips than we ever had. So it's easier and easier to figure out your personal metabolism.
Right. It feels this way with everything, but in my 20s, I was blissfully unaware of all my biological processes. I was what I was, and I just went with the flow. But now I think it's more important and more critical to really plug in and engage with your biology and to know the data. And then you have the power to control and to shape it. Yeah, I love that point. Okay, so here's another question for you, Bev. So this person says, I'm generally health conscious and I usually eat low fat whole foods. When I try to lower my carbs though, I feel like garbage. So what can I do to feel better?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I would wonder where you're getting your nutrients, because nutrients come from carbs, from fat, and from protein. And if you're eating a low fat diet and you're trying to reduce your carbs, that may not be the best way to go. You said a low fat diet, and I think that's based on some information that many of us had in the 80s and 90s, that low fat diets were the way to go. I'm here to say that that theory's been debunked, and that really what we believe as nutrition therapists is that healthy fats are what we should be incorporating in our diet. And we'll talk about healthy fats as a way to look at metabolism later. But I would say the reason why you're not feeling energy is because you're not incorporating healthy fats into your diet. Would you add anything to that, Kristin?
Well, it gets really tricky when you bring up the term fat. Dietary fat should be celebrated and embraced and slathered and enjoyed. So when I see this lady, I'm like, I'm so sorry that you're trying so hard to eat low fat and you're trying so hard to dial down the carbs. I hear a lot of deprivation when there should be like, hey, enjoy your food, enjoy the flavors. Just you need to know how to do it the right way. So that's what we're here for, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is it possible to break your metabolism, Kristin? No matter what I do, my weight stays the same and I don't have energy or motivation.
Can I break my metabolism? It can feel that way, right? It can feel like your body is rebelling against you. It doesn't look the way you want it to look. It's not moving the way you want it to move. The pounds are hanging on, your energy's lulling. Like it can feel like you're broken. But I don't believe it's possible to break your metabolism. What you can do is slow it down and damage it severely by our habits, by our food choices. One tragic case I see time and time again with clients, and myself included, is the after effects of yo-yo dieting. I spent decades on that train, the latest diet, the latest fad, the latest calorie count, the latest magic elixir and the restriction and the deprivation and the things we put our body through. Well, doing that year after year after year, you know, you gain the weight, you take it off, you gain the weight, you take it off. It's going to take a lot of effort to break that cycle, to repair the metabolic damage you've done by fluctuating, and to restore the trust that you have with your own biology. Like your body doesn't trust you to take care of it anymore because you've abused it with this yo-yo dieting cycle. So in that effect, I wouldn't say break, but you can really hamper your metabolism. We also slow our metabolism down when we eat with no regard for our blood sugar, for our health, for our energy, for nutrient density, when we just put whatever we want in our mouth. And unfortunately, some of the foods that taste the best are the worst for us. It's how they were engineered to be. So we have to be mindful. We have to be thoughtful. We can definitely damage our metabolism, but on the flip side, we can completely turn that around. With a little patience and a little love and a little knowledge, we can absolutely get right back on track and have a robust metabolism, all the energy we need to get things done during the day, the figure that we want, the strength that we want. We can get that. We're not broken beyond repair.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next question, this is a little more specific. So I have tried everything to lose weight. Should I try the keto diet I keep hearing about? Have you heard that one in your practice, Bev?
Yes, I have actually just recently. I heard I want to go low carb, I want to go keto. And I would say absolutely. But keto and intermittent fasting, which we'll talk about in a little bit, are tools. And we use those tools in our practice to help clients get the goals and the results that they want. I love keto as an option. And I love it because it helps to stabilize blood sugar. We talked about blood sugar being like one of the big metabolic aspects to guide us to better metabolic health. Keto helps us limit carbs, concentrate on healthy fats and proteins, and really stabilize that blood sugar roller coaster. So absolutely, I'm a big proponent of trying keto as a tool to improve your metabolic health.
I like that you mentioned it, that it's a great option to have. I think we're both proponents that there's no one diet for everybody. In fact, when I went to school, I was expecting to find the diet, and there isn't. So knowing that keto, if you know what it offers, you might decide this is what I want, and I want to use this as a tool. It's a great option, but I like that you use the word option. It is a wonderful option. It may be absolutely the perfect diet for what you're trying to do, and it may not. So that's something we can help you decide.
That's very true. You bring up a good point. We're all individuals, and our bodies change throughout our lifetime. So what works for you right now may not work for you in 5 years. What works for Kristin right now may not work for me right now. And so as part of our intake with our nutrition therapy practices, we're looking at where you are and the state of your metabolic health at this particular moment in time. But isn't keto hard, Kristin? I mean, you have been in ketosis for a long time. You've worked with the keto diet. You have worked with your clients with the keto diet. You've written a wonderful manuscript all about keto. Tell us, is it really hard?
That's a good question. And like everything, every question, it feels like the answer is yes and no. Yes, that it does take commitment, and there's a learning curve, perhaps more so than most any other diet I've ever been on. I would say you need to be committed and in a mind space that you can give keto your full attention for 6 weeks and do the diet as close to 100% as you can for 6 weeks. It takes about that long to wake up that metabolic pathway to enable your body to burn ketones and to function in that way. So if I have a client, even if they have pre-diabetes or this metabolic dysfunction, and I know keto would turn it around and really help them if they're in a time of their life they don't have the attention or the bandwidth, if they're in the middle of a trauma, if they are just so busy they can't even breathe. That is not the time to start keto. So it's very important to look at the settings and surroundings around your decision to embrace it. I love it. Once you get the hang of it, like I said, learning curve, it's not hard. I enjoy it. I feel better in keto than I do out of, so I choose to use it most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. And that's, for me personally, I think it's worth investigating to see if the benefits are worth the efforts in you and your own circumstances. You just have to have a mindset that it's going to be hard. It's going to be a shift at the beginning. And then it's easily doable and enjoyable after that. This could be related to keto. I have a question. What would you recommend to start on intermittent fasting? 12 hours, 16 hours? So Bev, maybe tell us quickly what intermittent fasting is and then how you would start that practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Intermittent fasting is just another tool. Obviously you're fasting, which is going out without food for a certain period of time. There are many versions out there. You mentioned, hourly fasting, where you would fast for 12 to 16 to 17, 18 hours a day. There's also versions out there where you would eat normally for 5 days and then fast for 2 days. Again, it's another tool that we use to help our clients get to whatever goal that motivates them. So I would suggest, if you are interested in intermittent fasting, that you start with the simple time-based fasting. So go stop eating at 6 o'clock at night and start eating again at 6 to 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of metabolic processes that happen overnight. Your body repairs itself. You are able to kind of update the circuitry in your brain overnight. There's so much that happens overnight. So the ability to be in a fasting state in an overnight scenario is probably the best way to start intermittent fasting. Would you add anything to that, Kristin?
Yeah, so that was a great intro to intermittent fasting. I also use intermittent fasting personally and with clients as kind of a metabolic gauge to see where my health is. So if you attempt a fast, if you try to go, push your breakfast out a little bit, do you find you get shaky or hangry or a little like panicky? If so, that would indicate, it doesn't mean you can never intermittent fast, but it shows you have a little blood sugar dysregulation. If you're off the roller coaster we talked about and you're really good at regulating your blood sugar, you can intermittent fast with your eyes closed. You could forget to eat and it wouldn't bother you. That tool is a really easy tool to use. If you're not there, it's a real struggle. Like skipping a meal can send you into a spiral. So if I'm doing my regular intermittent fasting schedule, because I do that regularly, and I find myself getting like irritable and edgy, I have to stop and think, what have I done that's affected my metabolic health? Is my blood sugar off? Is my stress driving up my blood sugar? Things like that. So like you said, you use it to get these anti-inflammatory and metabolic benefits, but I also use it as a check-in to see how well I'm running, how well the machine is running. So it's
that's absolutely, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
That's absolutely a great way to check in with yourself. So we talked about earlier, like data's power, the Fitbit, the Apple Watch, but also just try to fast and see what happens. And you'll find out a lot about your blood sugar regulation by attempting an overnight fast. Yeah, that's a great point.
Let's wrap up maybe with I wanted to have 2 questions that both of us answer. This one came in a couple of times, but Bev, tell me the top dietary change you'd recommend for metabolic health. What's the one thing you would change or add to your diet for metabolic health?
Well, I think you just said it. It's healthy fats. because I don't think we're used to eating those and incorporating them in their diet. And the other one I would add to that is high quality protein. And what I mean by high quality protein is the best animal protein or plant-based protein that you can afford. So non-processed, organic if you can afford it, grass-fed if you can afford it. Really, the quality of your protein is really, really important for metabolic health. And how would you answer that, Kristin?
I'm just thinking of all the yummy grass-fed meats right now. Like that was a great answer. The number one I would say is actually one that you did a great job describing in our email series, and it's smart carbs or complex carbs, carbohydrates. And these are foods that are not processed, that still contain fiber. Fiber slows down the absorption of sugar, which means it slows the impact on our blood sugar. And a huge step in quelling that roller coaster we talked about. So complex carbs would be eating a whole apple instead of drinking apple juice. It would be a cruciferous vegetable like broccoli or cauliflower instead of white rice or mashed potatoes on the side. It would be whole foods instead of processed foods that have had all the fiber and the slowing agents taken out of them and just give us that fast hit of sugar and flavor. So unfortunately, a lot of the foods that taste the best are the worst for us, metabolically speaking. They've been engineered to light our tongue up, but they don't do anything for our health. So if you can forego those and stick with the whole, nutrient dense food, you're right there. That one change is going to do miracles for your health.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Right. And the second part of this, I said it was a two-parter, so get ready for this.
That's right.
What is one biohack you'd recommend to impact your health?
Yeah. So I think we have the same answer for this, and that is one of the reasons why we decided to do this Q&A today. Is we wanted to introduce you to a wonderful biohack, the continuous glucose monitor. So we talked about blood sugar and why that's an important aspect of metabolic health. And I think, and you would agree, that when we started this series, we wanted to give people an idea of how they can incorporate a CGM into their own personal health plan. And so we're out to help you do that. And Kristin, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about CGMs and what they are and what they do, and the fact that they're not just for diabetics?
Right. With pleasure. So, and I'm holding one right now because I'm getting ready to do another round on myself. I love these things. They're like, I'm geeking out. It's my new favorite toy. I've been using them for over a year now. So it used to be the only way to know what your blood sugar was if you're a diabetic is to have a glucose monitor and a finger prick and to constantly be measuring that yourself. Or, your annual physical, when you get your cholesterol and your other numbers up at the top, it'll say your fasting glucose, right? That's just a snapshot in time. That's how you were doing that one day that you skipped breakfast. It doesn't tell us how you interact with your food. It doesn't tell us a whole lot, really. But if you could have a live feed, if you will, like a constant drip of information telling you how every bite you eat affects you, that would be powerful, because suddenly you could see which foods spike you through the roof and which ones your body just loves that it takes in stride without even a bump, right? It can tell you how fast you recover from a spike, which also is a measure of health. It can tell you if you're in danger of dipping too low, which is not just a diabetic concern. There's just so much information to be had. And we talked a long time about this, Bev. No one just wakes up diabetic. Nobody just wakes up with metabolic disease. You can see it a long way out if you have the data. So if you know your blood sugar patterns, you know right away if they're off, and you can start to tweak them immediately before they become a problem or something your doctor's going to flag and put you on medication for. So this is super empowering. What would you add?
Especially if your doctor is concerned that you're entering what is called pre-diabetes. And we tend to have rising blood sugar as we get older, unfortunately. And some of my clients are kind of in that pre-diabetic stage. HbA1c is the measure of 3 months of your blood sugar. And so that's an important marker to get familiar with and to understand if you are kind of tending towards that metabolic concerning point. So I love the glucose monitor for everyone because, you know, we're so used to, like I said, the Apple Watch, the Fitbit, to understanding what's happening with us real time. This is just a measure of that, but especially for clients that are really concerned about the creeping numbers on their blood work. And if I had to have like another piece of advice that I would give to all of you today is get familiar with your blood work. Understand what those numbers are telling you, especially the blood sugar numbers, and really start focusing on how your blood work is trending over time.
Right. And that can sound daunting. Now, two things. One, you have us. We're here to help you understand your blood work and even order labs if you need. Like, we're completely up for that. We're trained and certified in methods to help you understand exactly what's going on with your labs. But two, it's worth the effort, because if you ask any of your friends, or you know, if you're real with yourself for a second, what are you most afraid of as you grow older? And I hear diabetes, I hear cancer, I hear Alzheimer, losing my faculties. These are all metabolic progressions of disease. So if you can get these things early, if you can get your blood sugar under control, you can understand your metabolic health, you're going to catch these before they become crises, before they become traumas. It's so empowering that it's almost like a no-brainer for me. Like, why wouldn't you want to embark on this journey? Because it lets you steer the boat away from exactly what you're most afraid of.
Yeah. And you might be able to figure out how to lose weight.
Oh, right.
That's at the beginning of the conversation.
I know. It is funny that you say that, because when most people, when they think metabolism, they're just thinking health or weight. When you talk to a nutrition therapist, we're thinking big picture health numbers, and we're looking like, it's almost like reading your future. When you said pre-diabetes, I can see how many steps away you are from this. This is how we're thinking, but really in general, people are like, yeah, but get these 5 pounds off. Yeah,
exactly.
My skinny jeans, so it's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously, it helps in so many ways. Kristin and I have recently partnered with a company called Thea Health, and they're great because they allow us the opportunity as practitioners to also kind of help and guide our clients through their use of the CGM. So our offer, number one, is to get on our email list to find out more. That's the one thing you can do today, because we will be introducing this week the offer of a metabolic reset for those who want to learn more about their own personalized health journey through blood sugar management. And we'll be offering the Thea Health CGM. Well, it's actually CGM manufactured by someone else through Thea Health. And along with that, an opportunity to meet with us to talk about your own personalized health situation, and to understand more about how blood sugar management can help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve.
Right. Now, we've both tried out CGMs, and Thea is great. They're on the cutting edge of the technology. They're using the newest CGM. They have a continuous feed. So you eat a bite of food, it lights up on your phone, and you can see right away how it's affecting you. Bev, tell me what the number one thing is that surprised you about your experience on a CGM. And now keep in mind, you're a nutrition therapist and all your food choices are pristine and beautiful, right? What surprised
absolutely.
you?
Yeah. So my health choices are not all perfect. If you're a friend of mine or a relative of mine, you absolutely know that. So, nutrition therapists are not perfect. I am also gluten-free. So, there's kind of I think, a thought that gluten-free foods are better for you than regular foods. One, it didn't really surprise me, because I knew better, but it was difficult to see the numbers go up and my blood sugar rise after eating my favorite avocado toast with gluten-free bread. So that wasn't surprising, but a little bit sad for me. The other thing is, it was interesting for me to understand real time this theory that we were taught that blood sugar, different foods affect people differently. So something that won't raise Kristin's blood sugar because of her stress level, because of the other foods she's eating, the combinations of foods you're eating, will affect me, for example. And so understanding really those particular foods that affect my blood sugar was really eye-opening for me. What about you?
Yeah, no, I love that answer because bioindividuality is tricky. So using you mentioned that you found out your beloved gluten-free toast wasn't the best for you and that was sad for you, but you can also find out, hey, I can eat more of blank than I thought I could because my body really loves it and works well with it. So you can actually find some bonus cheats, I guess, that you could tolerate. And then I also liked what you said about watching the numbers in real time, and you're like, I knew better, but seeing it on the screen, I went out for sushi. I love sushi. It's a huge splurge for me, and I expected it to go up, but my blood sugar shot through the roof. So seeing exactly, I knew it was bad, but seeing how bad, I was like, wow, seeing that was impactful. But then also being able to see that I recovered really quickly, which is a sign of metabolic health. And that was reassuring. So I'm like, great. Okay. So I know it's not the best for me. I can see the spike, but I also know that I recover quickly. So I can still use that as a splurge as long as it's an occasional splurge. It helped me understand the cost and the impact. So I love that. What did surprise me, I'm not bragging about my metabolic health because overall my blood sugar runs higher than is optimal. My waking blood sugar is high and it drops more in the night than it should. Like I have some dysregulation I would not have expected, given that I eat low carb and keto most of the time, and I'm pretty I work out quite a bit. And so when you see something like that show up on your CGM, then you're like, wait a minute, this isn't dietary. What else is affecting my blood sugar? And we covered this in our email series, but I knew right away I had to start looking at my sleep quality. I had to start managing my stress a little better. I do run a little bit high strung. If you know me, you know that. And these kind of things, because it was actually starting to impact my health and send me in a direction I don't want to go. So CGM is so much more than just about what you put in your mouth. It can give you readings and clues about lifestyle parameters as well. So that was hugely insightful for me. And another reason I'm excited to help you figure out where your blood sugar is and what's affecting it and where your baseline is and how to get you closer to optimal.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing that you could do at the end of this series, when we post this video, we'll post it with links to Kristin's email list and to my email list at Bar Wellness. And we will be posting more to our email list about this offer. If you're interested in it, the first thing, again, you can do is just sign up for our email list. Kristin, I know that your email goes out on Tuesdays.
Yep.
Mine goes out on Fridays. And so you'll know this week kind of the details and more information. If you're interested in learning more, we're available to answer any other questions you might have about using a CGM. It doesn't hurt. There's a tiny bit of intimidation when you first put it in, but it really is not a big deal.
Right. I laughed at myself because I was flinching and bracing and scared. And I was like, is that all you got? I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'm glad no one was watching me.
I did the same thing. And so we'll be answering more questions, giving you more details about how you can participate in the Metabolic Reset program. And all we ask is that you just sign up on our email list to know more.
Right. We look
What
forward to
else
it.
what else would you tell our audience that they would need to know before moving forward with a program like
Yeah,
this?
just wherever you're watching this video, if it's on social media or if it's in our email, just respond with a comment if you have questions. We're both here and eager to help because we both believe in empowering people to take control of their own health. We're not victims. We're not set on this tide of happenstance. We're in control. And so helping you steer your ship, if you will, helping you achieve the health that you want. That's what motivates both of us. This is why I like working with Bev. We're not here to do it for you. We're here for better than that. We're here to help you help yourself. So give us the opportunity to do that. It's an exciting ride. Bring your loved ones along and let's all get feeling better so we can play more.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for this talk. It was really fun. I enjoyed it tremendously and always fun to work with you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Bev. We'll be in touch.